Hey, what's up? It's Luke. Thanks for checking out my channel. I am a Sacramento area photographer, and my primary camera for shooting is Sony mirrorless systems. But as you can see, and from the title of the video, I'm not going to be talking about Sony today. I'm going to be talking about Leica, because about 6 months ago, I got bit by the Leica bug. I ended up picking up a Q3, shooting with that for a little while, and then moving on to the M11P. So it's been a journey, that's for sure, and I want to talk about it, especially for somebody who might be thinking about going into the Leica family because you were curious like I was. Long story short, I've been shooting Sony for a long time. I really enjoy Sony systems. I haven't stopped using them at all. I still use them for my professional work. I love using Sonys. They are absolute beasts. They're workhorses, great image quality, the whole 9 yards. Sony is great. So I'm not saying get rid of your Sonys and start shooting Leicas only. But in watching a lot of YouTubers and sort of getting a feeling of, you know, having the Sonys just be my workhorses, that really got into me. I noticed when I started shooting as a photographer, I would bring my camera everywhere. I would shoot photos of my family all the time, and it would be great. But as time went on, the family photos happened less and less, and I was cognizant of that, but I never really felt the itch to keep doing that. I felt sad because I felt like I was missing a lot of moments with my kids, and I really had this mindset of, well, my cameras are more for professional use, and for family use I'll use them for special events and things like that, but they weren't cameras that I really carried around everywhere. They were big and bulky, and I just didn't really feel like doing that, even though I had done that in the past. Like, I would literally carry around a Canon 5D Mark III with a big 24-70 lens on it to like everywhere I went. I mean, everywhere I had that camera, and it was giant. But I don't know, I guess over the years those feelings sort of faded, and I started watching YouTube, and a lot of YouTubers kind of had that same story of, well, they shot less and less, and they wanted to shoot more, and they wanted to be inspired, and a lot of them went into like simpler cameras, point and shoots, and things like that. Many of them went into Leica, and I wanted the highest quality possible, and I thought, Leica has a really good reputation. They gotta be a great camera company, so I just kind of dived in and went for the Q3. And I gotta be honest, at first I didn't like the Q3 at all. In fact, I didn't want to shoot with it. I shot with it and found out that I didn't like shooting with it. It didn't feel like my Sonys. They didn't have the speed of the Sonys. The autofocus wasn't nearly as quick or robust as the Sony systems are. And then it also has this fixed 28mm lens, which some people actually say is a little wider than a 28. It feels more like a 26 to some people. And I felt all of those negatives when I was initially shooting with this camera. Long story short, since then I've actually grown to really love this camera. And the camera that I'm struggling with mightily right now is the M11, because it's just such a different shooting experience. I feel like a complete noob shooting the M11. And so I want to recommend, if you are someone like me and wants to get into Leica, get that Leica feel, I would actually recommend the Q3 to begin with. Some people say just skip the Q3. They say it's like your gateway drug into Leica. Just go right for the real deal. But the real deal is pretty different for someone who's really used to autofocus and speed and all of that. So let me put the M11 down here, so it's a little bit off camera. And we'll talk a lot more about the Q3 and why I would recommend the Q3 over the M11 for someone like me who wants to shoot amazing photos but still have sort of those Leica looks and the Leica feel to the photography. So number one, this camera obviously has autofocus. If you didn't know before, and you know, some people wouldn't know this, the M11, the M series, they are manually focusing cameras. The lenses don't have autofocus to them. The cameras don't have autofocus. They don't have EVFs or anything like that. So all the modern conveniences that your Canon, Nikon, or Sony camera would have, the M11, it doesn't have any of that. So, you know, as a photographer, you probably get used to those creature comforts of modern systems. And to lose a lot of that is quite a shock. The Q3 kind of modernizes the M system quite a bit. So, first of all, it has that autofocusing. It even has Leica's face detect. I don't think it works the best, but it's not bad. It can work in a pinch, although I think just using the touch screen on the back to select focusing points, or even the D-pad to move the focusing points, I prefer that method to trying to have the camera tell me where the face is or what to focus on. So that's number one. The Q3 has autofocus, and if you're coming from autofocus and you're going right to just manual focus, you're going to have a really hard time getting used to that. At least I did. I had a really hard time getting used to it. I had a hard time getting used to this camera because the autofocus was just a bit slower than my Sony's. So I can't imagine just going right into like an M series camera from just being used to all the modern comforts of modern cameras into an M series camera. It's like a culture shock. Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine. I can't even imagine it. Number two, something that I really love about the Q3 is it has a macro mode. It's actually on macro mode right now. Right here on the lens, it says macro. So it can go from it's non-macro mode to the macro mode. And macro mode, of course, means that you can shoot very close to a subject. In fact, this camera can shoot as close as 17 centimeters. That's really close. Like, you can get really close. And I love close photography because I like to shoot a lot of beautiful like food photography for food reviews that I do, and a lot of times I'm sitting here at my desk and I want to shoot something close. Probably like the thumbnail for this video actually is probably shot relatively close with a mirrorless camera. I like to shoot close. This can do that. Guess what, guys? I didn't find this out till way later. But rangefinder cameras, they cannot shoot close at all. This is a 35mm modern Summilux lens, and one of the features of this lens is it can actually shoot a bit closer than a non-modern Summilux, and the closest it can get is 40 centimeters. Is it 40? No. Wait, is it 40? Yeah, it is. It's 40 centimeters. I had to pause myself there for a second because it sounded a little bit ludicrous to me that 40 centimeters is the closest you can focus using this Summilux on this M11. But rangefinders are not known for close focusing. So if there was something in front of me here, I could not get a clear shot because this camera is too dang close to the subject. You have to back out a lot in order to get this camera to focus correctly. And I gotta tell you one more other thing. When you focus that close with this particular lens, you can't even use the focusing mechanisms that are inside here. You actually have to use the back screen EVF, focus peaking, and things like that in order to actually get an in-sharp focus even at that distance. It's bizarre. But I guess people who know rangefinders, they know rangefinders are not for close shooting. That's not something I knew before this. And so, for that reason, leave some of the frustration at home if you're someone who likes to shoot very close to things like I do. The Q3 is just a much better option. And lastly, this is one that people might disagree with me with, because this has been a weird little point of contention for many photographers, not just Leica shooters, but even Sony shooters and Canon shooters when this happened, but it's the tilty screen. This screen comes out and it tilts, and you can shoot at many different angles when you can tilt the screen. There are so many photography purists, camera purists, who just hate tilting screens. When they started using tilting screens like 10, 15 years ago, there was a big thing of photographers saying, no, we don't need tilting screens. Tilting screens are so useful. And actually, I wish the M11 had a screen that could tilt, because remember how I talked about getting a close focus distance using even just that 40 centimeters close focusing. Like, I have to bend and contort my body to get a look at the screen to be able to even try to nail the focus when it's close focused. It's really difficult. And sometimes only being able to compose with, or I would say this, it just makes it easier to compose when you don't have to contort yourself just to get that close focusing. It's just something that is a ease of use thing, I guess. It's hard. I guess it's hard for me to explain. I'm kind of getting a little tongue-tied there. I'm just saying that the tilty screen does wonders for composition and helps you be a little bit more creative, in fact, in many ways. So why not love a tilty screen? I love a tilty screen. So for those reasons, and a few more, I would say if you're in the boat that I'm coming from, where you're coming from this modern camera system and you want to try out Leica, I highly suggest the Q system. The Qs are amazing. The image quality is second to none as well. The sensors I hear are pretty much the same as the ones in the high-end Sony cameras. The A7R series are for resolution, of course. This has like, I think 60 megapixels in there. It's just crazy. You can get amazing detail. You can crop if you're someone who loves cropping. You can totally do that with this camera. Get amazing image quality. I think these would blow any Fuji camera or other like lower end brand out of the water. Not by, in terms of how much they cost, but the quality really is there. And I have come to love the Q3 so much, and I literally take it everywhere. I kind of want to get to that step with the M11. I'm not there yet. I don't feel comfortable just having this camera around with me all the time because of some of the limitations that I feel with it. But the Q3, it breaks those limitations. So the Q3 is what I would go with. Let me know what you think. Hopefully that was helpful. If you're someone thinking about getting into a Leica system and you're like, oh, should I get an M series camera or a Q series? I would say go for the Q. Shoot it for a while, and if you really want to dive in full Leica after you give the Q a go, then maybe think about the M. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.